Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning. I'm Chamberlain Oso.
You know, my mother always says, take each day as it comes, but I cannot help but look forward till tomorrow, which is Workers' Day. We might have a breather tomorrow. Good morning and welcome. It's a Tuesday morning. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
Okay, so, you know, I've been thinking about this particular place ever since I heard about it so intermittently. This is actually where they call, or where, should I say where we refer to as the center of Nigeria. Can you beat that? No, I'm not talking about the city, FCT, the Federal Capital Territory. Well, yes, geographically, yeah, the center of the country, so it's the Federal Capital Territory. But yesterday we did ask you to name a certain place, but this particular location, I couldn't, you know, different things going through my mind when they call it the center of Nigeria. Because if you look a little, is this moving or is it me?
It's looking static. Yeah, this is it actually.
Okay.
This is it.
We did ask that question of you lots yesterday, but a few people
got it. Yes.
I don't blame you guys. I don't blame you.
King Sunny
really.
O Ade. Isn't that appropriating somebody's name? Or is it the real King Sunny Ade? Well, I don't know.
Okay, well, anyone that has center of Nigeria in their response, yeah, we'll give it to you because
yes.
It's that's a key word.
Yes.
Right there, the center of Nigeria. Some said it's Aso Rock.
Well, Aso Radio is a station there.
Some say it's Durham.
Durham Hill.
No.
We said it's in Abuja. I should have give you a hint. Aso Rock, Abuja.
No,
so that's the interesting thing.
Nice try.
Nobody really knows what the rock is called because it's very confusing. Aso Radio is stationed on top of that place, but we know Aso Rock is where the presidency is located. This particular hill, interestingly, has a point on it that is considered the center point of the country, the middle of the country. So if you were to look at Nigeria as a circle, there's actually a point there where you could draw a fine radius around the country.
So when you hear them say that center of Nigeria, you think that, okay, let me go as a tourist. Wow, it must be fantastic. There must be something going on there. And then I see it and I feel, oh, come on, wait a minute. There's got to be more.
What do you want them to do?
Because it's called center of Nigeria.
You want them to put some
Can we see this,
stuff?
that spot? Because if you look at that spot,
yeah,
it builds up when you hear, whoa, where is this place called the center of Nigeria? And
I really have to laugh though. This person who said the Durham Hills.
So when you see that particular spot, guys, can we see that spot? Because people need to see that. So when you then see it, look, there's got to be more. I think the Ministry of Tourism...
Should we dig it up? Should we put a hole there? What should we do?
They should go back and do something about that.
Oh, I think if they think about it though, that's it.
This is where we call the center of Nigeria.
That's
that
the
point,
spot. Yes.
That exact point. So if you're there, that's an iconic place for you. You've made history. If your feet touches down here, you can say, I've been to the very center of Nigeria. Whoa.
Yes, indeed, Chamberlain. We've seen it.
But I think there should be more. Come on.
So the thing about sports, the thing about tourist sports is that sometimes there's really nothing to it. It's usually the attractions people build around.
That's what it's to. That's the thing. So there is something. You have to make something of it.
You have to make something of it. I totally agree with you, Chamberlain.
Look at it.
But at the end of the day, oftentimes when I'm told about a tourist spot, you sometimes, it's a bit underwhelming when you now get there. You see like, oh, okay, this is what it is about. It's only very, very few times that you get to a major spot and you're like, wow.
So you can imagine
where the site itself really awes you.
And then I go to that lounge, I go there, take your very native traditional food. I was at the center of Nigeria. I ate this at the center of Nigeria. Wow, I saw this other stuff at the center of Nigeria. The world being the center of Nigeria.
When we visited the center of Nigeria, we did this, we did that, we did this.
It's also tourism. Come on, you could do a lot better.
A little more
imagination. Not now that people are talking about scarcity everywhere. People need to find a place to get solace. So, but let's see. I mean, today, for instance, there are different things. And, you know, when you talk about news, yes, the former CBN governor will continue his case in court, I think in FCT High Court today. So there are different cases, abuse of office, alleged misappropriation. So he's got his defense cut out for him for all of these cases. So he's answering several questions across board. So we'll see how that also plays out today in the FCT. Well, that's not all. You have more.
Yes, we also have coming up at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock, Business Morning, we'll be looking at commodity prices rise on fuel scarcity. We all know that when things like this happen, it always has a knock-on effect on the prices of commodities. It has a knock-on effect on the prices of transportation. You know, for those who have their vehicles, sometimes you can get consumed in the fact that all you have to do is look for petrol. But for those who have to enter public transport, especially that which is not subsidized by government or which is not owned by government, you find that they are subjected to, you know, an arbitrary increase, which sometimes has no correspondence with what is actually happening in reality. But hey, can you blame the transporters at this time? They'll do what they want.
Well, yeah, I know, but oh, by the way, that one you saw right there about electricity tariff. We understand that the House of Reps, they'll be taking a motion on that subject matter today. Their Senate counterpart did. They're looking into that, saying, look, questioning the processes. Have there been abuse of process? How did they arrive at that increase in electricity tariff? Does the law allow them to charge discriminative fees for Nigerians on the same products? So all of those questions will be asked. So, but we've got more coming your way today from the National Assembly, so we'll tell you what it will be as we progress here this morning. But let's take you through some of the dailies today. All right, let's take you through some of the dailies this morning. We'll begin with Daily Trust. Why petrol scarcity persists, ascribed to marketers. The writer says work resumption disrupted in Lagos, Ogun. Transporters hike fares. Usually, this kind of scenario associated, expected, or plays out when you have this kind of petrol scarcity. Everyone seems to take advantage, or most of them, transporters seem to take advantage. Nigerian News Direct is the very next one here this morning. Black market resurfaces as Lagos Ogun commuters beg for relief as PMS supply worsens. And the writer says product sells above 900 naira per litre. Yeah. The Nigerian Observer, equally towing the same line, marketers blame fuel scarcity on NNPC's inadequate product supply. As Ipman says, scarcity may persist for 2 more weeks. That's what you've got right there on the front page here this morning. And then this Nigeria, petrol gunny, interesting caption. Nigerians recount tales of agony over petrol. As scarcity continues, motorists lament wasted productive hours, commuters stranded at bus stops. It will soon be over, say NNPC officials. That's what you see right there. And then you then move above, you see other stories. New Telegraph, this narrative, look at this. Ex-Sokoto governor, we seek permission from bandits to farm on our lands. Who would have thought? Say terrorists allocate farming portions, in parentheses, to landowners, warns food scarcity mirage unless insecurity is addressed. Wow. Okay, so I hope that this definitely should grab the attention of the security agencies. How is this allowed to keep going on from an ex-Sokoto governor? I guess you might want to read a little further on that one. Beneath that lead story, FG must reverse electricity tariff hike. Senate insists. So many will wonder. All right, let's see what happens with that one. The Guardian, debts market monopoly hurt Nigerians as fuel subsidy backfires. Oh, okay, that's their only story. Have a look at Daily Independent. Corruption allegation, Keyamo demarketing Nigeria's aviation sector, ascribed to experts. And then 4 killed, others injured as herdsmen attack Enugu community. I think you see the image on the front page there of the governor having that meeting. So, or Vanguard, also not missing out on the current scenario. Fare hike, travelers, commuters groan as fuel scarcity buys harder. We've adopted a new strategy to end shortage, described to Meman. You might want to know what that is. It will take a few days to eliminate queues. An NPC task force raids filling stations in Ilorin, warns against hoarding, as Lagos government warns against creating gridlock on roads. They've got their job cut out for them, I tell you. And then above that lead story, DSTV, GoTV rates hike. Tribunal stops multi-choice. Yeah, you can go ahead and have a look at that one right there. Those are some of the front pages this morning. Okay, so what do you think?
Chamberlain, you can see that on the front story, or what is actually taking the cake and on the front pages this morning is still this issue of petrol scarcity.
Yep.
I'm going to be very honest with you. My heart is in my mouth as to when every time I'm driving, I'm looking at my tank. People like could miraculously increase it by staring at it. I'm sure by now it will have full tank. Because honestly, this is not even funny anymore. And the fact that there is total silence, you know, I think that's actually the insult for me. It is insulting to Nigerians that there is something this grave happening. The whole country is unsure of what exactly the situation is. I think from what our correspondents gathered, only Rivers State seems isolated, and it's unclear what is happening in Rivers State. But our correspondents there did say that the price of petrol has since gone high. It's seen a markup from what used to obtain there. But the rest of the country is groaning under this. School buses are unable to function as they would. Transporters are unable to function. By transporters, I mean those who are applying interstate. They're unable to function as they would. And then businesses, think about the small businesses, Chamberlain, the barber shop, the hairdressers, tailors, those people who just need a little electricity to, go on for the day. And most parts of Abuja yesterday, faced a total blackout. I don't know about other parts of the country. So for these people to keep their businesses going, they need a bit of petrol. And they have to queue. Oftentimes in scarcity situations like this, they usually refuse to sell in kegs. You might need to partner with an Okada rider, or you go and buy the black market. I never thought that we'll see the black market again, Chamberlain. I never, in my wildest dream, thought that we'll be seeing petrol going for as high as 1,300 naira on the black market. So for all of that to be happening, and some people to think that it is okay to keep quiet, it means that, Nigerians are not exactly regarded by their own government, by the people who say they serve them. I don't understand that at all. Silence, is that the answer when people are asking questions? That certainly cannot be the answer. And it's not an answer that we should tolerate, Chamberlain.
Look at, for instance, the electricity tariff. They make a case why they should hike the tariff, whatever the reasons are. They hike the tariff, you getting supply now? Your answer is as good as mine. The same narrative for petrol. Mm-hmm. They tell us subsidy, the thieves, blah, and things like that. They take it off. Do you have the product now? Despite how much you pay for all of that. So it just goes to show that, look, most times, they usually just put up a facade. The real reasons why they do these things are not what they tell you and I. Because if these two cases, for instance, were the case, number one is we'll have electricity supply. Number two is that you'll have your petrol supply no matter the challenges. But now, look at that. The issues have not been addressed. Well, Nigerians, here we decided to just get you this clip. It's really a sad story. It's not funny. Some may laugh over this particular video, but have a look at this.
How on earth I go come? They go come, they tell me say I must buy meat pie before I buy fuel. You rubbish olele buy. You must go buy meat pie before you buy fuel. Is this place open for a meat pie or open for a fuel station? You rubbish olele. This is total filling station trying with the masses that we have to buy meat pie before we buy fuel. What kind of insult? Rubbish lele now. Continue with what? And they were proud of incontention. This is total rubbish.
Entrance of filling station, people just queue down. Never started they sell petrol, everybody don't queue. Cheap. It's the only petrol we use for this country. This is our government, they don't rubbish our life. It's not even gonna be funny today because
So where is NNDPRA when you need them? You know, it's really shocking, to say the least, disappointing, appalling that they choose to ignore. That's the way it's coming across. They just want you to wallow in this challenge caused by the NNPC, because they said it was logistics problem and that it would take however long in different places to sort out. Who's supposed to regulate to make sure no hoarding, no price gouging, you don't take advantage of people, for instance, what you see on the other NNDPRA. And where are they when you're supposed to go out there and ensure things are done? Go out there and make sure that petrol stations don't take advantage of Nigerians. Just where are they? I think they should remember that they're paid with funds from you and I. It's taxpayers' money. They need to remember that. So when you sit back and think if you ignore Nigerians, it will go away, you've got another thing coming, because this is
culture of silence, Chamberlain. It's something that really
terrible.
Needs to be addressed. I don't know how the media is going to take it up. The fact that oftentimes when we get to hear from a lot of our, leaders, oftentimes is when they go abroad.
Yeah.
Or have to talk to the foreign media. That's when
they tend to respect those ones more than they respect Nigerians.
It is an insult.
That's what happens.
It is an insult, and I think that Nigerians have taken, because how can this difficulty be happening and there is nobody running around media houses to say this is the situation, this is what is happening, we have it under control, in the next couple of days we promise that this situation will be resolved. In the meantime, this is what should be happening. You can call these numbers if this is happening. Nothing. It's just silence. People are taken for a ride. You don't care. That's basically what it means. If someone say, come and tell you that, oh, this administration, the administration, you don't care. If you do care, if the government of the day cares, and the people who are working with the government of the day cares, by now we should be getting some explanation. We should have a very clear understanding of what in the first place has caused this logistics issue, what is being done to resolve it, how long it's going to last, and what you're going to do in the meantime to ensure that Nigerians have some reprieve. It is really, really terrible that, Nigerians who don't know each other will go to filling stations and be quarreling and fighting. Why? Because they want petrol, because they want an essential commodity, something that ordinarily should be taken for granted. It is really, really outrageous, Chamberlain.
If NNDPRA boss or executives were to be in West African countries, or they travel to certain other parts of African countries, and the media asks them questions, would they keep quiet? If they travel abroad, would they ignore? They will speak up. So why do you not speak to Nigerians about this kind of matter? This is what gets people sacked, This kind of attitude, in ideal situations, in ideal countries, where things should go the way they ought to, this gives people the boot. Because you can't be appointed to be in a position, and then there's a failing in that area, you keep quiet. It suggests you're incompetent. That is what this speaks to.
Incompetent and lackadaisical.
So it's up to them. I don't know who advises them, really. Because if you should kick out your advisors in the first place. If they tell you to keep quiet over this, you'll be utterly disappointed, because it's taxpayers' money. That is what you're paid with, so you should remember that. All right, we'll be back in just a moment and take you through what we've got for you here, so stay on with us.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
One platform, three venues, three summits. Summit 1, the theme, Women in Business and Women in Tech. Summit 2, Entrepreneurship for Senior and Middle Managers. Summit 3, Entrepreneurship, Building a Business from Scratch. Speakers at Summit 1, Women in Business and Women in Tech are Ibukun Awoshika, Nike Ogunlesi, Eyitope Kola Oyeneyi, Bode Abifari, and Nkebet Meshele. Date 1st of May 2024. Venue is the Covenant Temple, Lekki, former 4th Roundabout, Chisco Bus Stop, Lekki. Time 9 a.m. Admission is free. To register, visit www.theplatformnigeria.com/register. This event will be broadcast live on Channels Television. Powered by the Covenant Nation Global.
Cube is available in beef, chicken, jollof, and shrimp flavors at attractive prices of 100, 200, 500 naira, along with saver and super saver packs.
Terra Cube, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
One platform, three venues, three summits. Summit 1, the theme, Women in Business and Women in Tech. Summit 2, Entrepreneurship for Senior and Middle Managers. Summit 3, Entrepreneurship, Building a Business from Scratch. Speakers at Summit 2, Entrepreneurship for Senior and Middle Managers are Mrs. Rolake Akinkube Filani, Mrs. Folake Shoeton, Mr. Osinachi Ibeneme, Mr. Olumide Balogun, Mrs. Ndidi Ukaonu, and Mrs. Bemi Atibomo. Venue is the Marriott Hotel, Joel Ogunaike, GRA Ikeja, Lagos. Time 9 a.m. Admission is free. To register, visit www.theplatformnigeria.com/register. This event will be broadcast live on Channels Television. Powered by the Covenant Nation Global.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
All right, welcome back. Well, of course, yeah, we're going to be taking a lot more responses from Nigerians in terms of where you are, how you are, what you're grappling with this petrol situation in the country. We cannot afford to keep quiet. If they think it's going to blow away, they've got another thing coming, because this is unacceptable, to say the least. If you're in positions, you have to speak to the people. The people. That's why you are there in the first place. Well, we've got Mr. Garba Omar here with us this morning. He's the Vice President of Interpol Africa Executive Committee. He's on in charge of petrol. So, good morning, Mr. Omar. Good to see you.
Thank you, Chamberlain. You are classified. I'm not in charge of it. I deal with about transnational crime.
Okay, so, you know, It's actually good to have you on because I know your schedule is pretty tight because ever since this questions about a Binance executive that escaped and several other scenarios about ensuring that things are done, putting people on the watch list for which we have read about here, some of the trials ongoing, Interpol plays a key role. But there are quite a few people who actually think, well, Interpol, okay, well, maybe a high-sounding word. Do they really make impact in this country in terms of the activities? Could you start by giving us a broad perspective of how your operations impact us positively here?
As you are aware, Interpol is an international criminal police organization that has 196 members, and Nigeria is a member since 1960. And the work of Interpol is to assist law enforcement agencies across the globe so that they can perform their job, effectively. And my Interpol work is to house all the data of criminal data, such as we have 19 databases. If there is issue of stolen properties, stolen and lost documents, and if there is some issue of fraud, issues that relate to transnational crime, proliferation of light and small arms, we have the biometrics, collected from 196 countries. And these are housed in one database that is shared among all the 96 countries, which they call NCB. Each country has an NCB, meaning National Central Bureau. And the National Central Bureau link all other law enforcement agencies in that country so that they can assist them to perform their job effectively. And Chamberlain, you should know that Interpol is the largest organization in the world, having 196 countries, bigger than the United Nations. That is how we work.
Wow. Okay, that's very interesting, but I know I'm just going to jump right to this one. It's a big question, which we've been trying to get hold of you for a while to talk to us about this fugitive, this Binance fugitive, Anjawara Nadeem, who escaped this country. Many were of the opinion that as soon as they heard that he had escaped, they were thinking, oh, not to worry. If they say we've informed Interpol, Interpol would nab him as soon as he's coming down from the aircraft, wherever he went to, and then get him back to Nigeria to answer questions. Tell us about this. What happened at that point? What was Interpol's role? Were you informed? What did you do?
As soon as he escaped, the Interpol was informed officially, and we put our we go into action. Number one, what we did was to contact all possible exit points of such fugitive and to get data on him, to get all the information about him and share among the 196 countries. And we're able to follow him, able to know where he's going. And the end, he landed in a particular country. And we are doing everything possible to make sure that the country comply with the Interpol's rules of international police cooperation by doing the processes of extraditing him to come and face justice in Nigeria. And don't forget, as soon as this individual escaped, there was a massive manhunt for this individual. And then many countries that we believed he must have boarded a plane or go by road to another place, we contacted them. And we got some certain information, which is not possible for me to share on this platform. But be rest assured, we located where he was, how he boarded, all the information about him, and where he was going, and how he landed, and where we passed information to the next country. We have done that to make sure that he doesn't escape justice. But you should be aware, for every country there is a law. If a fugitive escapes, there are processes in which that country will follow. Interpol will only give information to assist that country, to inform them about the bilateral agreement and the MOU and the signature of conventions that were signed to extradite a fleeing fugitive. And the processes is ongoing. And Nadeem is not an exception. And be rest assured, We have all the cooperation and we're working on it. And definitely, one day, he will be brought to justice. Just it's a matter of time. We have done all the paperwork. All the law enforcement agencies, they have done the paperwork. They have handed over to the Interpol. And the Interpol, we are working on it. In fact, one of the important aspects of this meeting that we are having the 10th working group on cybercrime is the manifestation of what we have been doing at the organization. Because 49 countries from Africa and beyond are in attendance. What is the essence? Transnational crime, bordering on cybercrime and related crimes such as this. What are the partnership between one country and the other? How do we harness? And all the countries involved, they must comply with the article of the regulation of the Interpol.
Indeed, I was just about to come to that conference which you held yesterday here in Abuja. And first and foremost, I know my colleague, you already told my colleague you're not in charge of petrol. But sometimes I know that as a Nigerian, you must feel quite a bit embarrassed as to, you know, when you're receiving visitors, and this is the current situation that your fellow citizens are facing in the country. Queues at filling stations, people selling petrol in jerry cans along the highway and all. I mean, sometimes, how do you feel?
Situation permits things. I came in yesterday morning. I arrived in the morning and I went because I was in Interpol headquarters with the Inspector General of Police for another meeting of all the regional chiefs of police in Lyon. We invited all the regional chiefs of police to discuss transnational crime and then give them assistance in terms of the tools and services, the capabilities of Interpol. We are all together, and I arrived yesterday morning. I wouldn't say probably because it was early morning and I went in, and those who arrived, they arrived before me. So I don't know the kind of problems there. Probably when I go out today, Mark, the next time I'll give you a story about the hardship. But for me, I've not.
Yeah, well, I was not asking really about whether you're facing it. It was really just about, you know, the perception of a country, you know, when you have visitors coming in and, you know, maybe we're just facing a tough moment at that particular point in time. It really sometimes can be a bit embarrassing. But, I mean, let's get on to what it is that you call them into the country for, which is cybercrime. Another big danger, it would seem, that countries now have to deal with as a result of a lot of transactions going on online. How big a threat is this issue of cyber crimes to different countries, and how do you think that Interpol can collaborate better to make that particular space, the cyberspace, a lot safer for people who use it?
Marco, you are right. It's worrisome when we're talking about cybercrime. Yeah, for every child, I've been seeing it in other people or other media. Or you know, who are young boys. When you ask them, "What are you going to do?" He will tell you, "I want to become a Yahoo boy." You know, this is worrisome. I don't know. I think this issue should start from home. Right from the beginning, from primary school, from the home, you know, to dissuade children to make them, I don't know, the technology is good, but at times it comes with the consequences. And these consequences can be, you know, mitigated by bringing in morality in it, you know. This is worrisome, honestly. But the Interpol, on its part, we have been doing, I happen to be the chairman of the technology of Interpol. We are bringing the AI. We're the first to introduce the metaverse. And the metaverse, you know, help in the, you know, about the artificial intelligence. And we are doing a lot to assist law enforcement agencies across the globe to make sure that fighting cybercrime is #1 priority, and to give them all the tools and services, the modern tools and services to detect. And that is why the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria established the state-of-the-art cybercrime center run by the Nigerian Police Force. And you are aware that the law governing cybercrime has been passed, you know, where even the issue of data laws have been enhanced. These are some of the things that we do. We, on our part, we try to help countries. You know, we have the best 2 cybercrime centers, one in Rwanda and then one in Nigeria, and they are all in the sophisticated center. And we have done a lot, quite a lot. Initially, Chamberlain was asking me, how do we issue of fugitive? You remember there are a lot of fugitive that we brought back. They run out of Nigeria. A typical example, and we got conviction. EFCC approached us about minor. We went after him. We went to another country. We got him and brought him back. And there are others, Nigerians that committed offense and they are taken back. And there are others from other countries that committed offense. We brought them back. So a lot of this, is an issue of trust. And the Interpol is an international organization that is well respected. We are not the investigators. Interpol do not investigate cases. Rather, they brought cases to them, they analyze it and help law enforcement agencies. But when you want to extradite, it has to be done by the Interpol. We go in, we give the law, the regulation, the article, and then we use it with the international warrant of arrest issued by competent court of law to bring you back to face justice. That is what we do. And we have been doing that, and believe you me, successes are recorded in this area. And we are working on this cybercrime. That's why we insisted that the cybercrime meeting, the conference should come to Nigeria. And this is where we are. 49 countries out of 56 that we have in this continent are here. And we have other 8 independent, association, United, UNDC and other, they are all here. European Union, they are all participants in this. What is it? To fight cybercrime. What is it? Prosecution. What is
interesting.
Yes.
You've spoken, sir, about the introduction of AI into being able to fight cybercrime. But we know that AI is now something that is used in many other spheres. Even the people who are perpetrating fraud and even committing these crimes are also adopting AI in their own trade, if I may call it that as well. And I'm just wondering, how does it complicate the issues that you face with, dealing with cybercrime? I know that you have also spoken about introducing AI, but does it make it a little more complex? Are you able to identify when artificial intelligence is deployed in the commission of a crime?
You are right, Margaret. I just want to inform you that, you see, the bad guys on the other side, they are also advanced. So is Interpol. We have experts all over our NCPs and headquarters, our regional headquarters, that are being trained professionally. And Africa is not an exception. You need to, one of these days, I will just ask you to do a kind of visit to the Cyber Crime Center. You will see the kind of officers that are trained to meet these challenges of AI. They are well-equipped, trained, professional, certificated internationally. We have them, and we train them. We make sure that they can do the work. So, of course, artificial intelligence has its consequences. But believe you me, what we are doing is to make sure that we have the mitigation to fight those guys at the other side of the coin.
Well, I know that you also mentioned just while you were talking about Yahoo boys. We used to have quite a bit of success in fighting this menace. As a matter of fact, some people will argue that what it is that we're currently facing with 419 and that sort of crime, it looks like it's another wave. There was a first wave in the early days just before the EFCC was introduced. After the EFCC was introduced, it did appear that there was a calm down in that sort of crime. But it does appear that now it's on the increase. Young people are taking to it in droves. And it doesn't appear that, we're able to really put a lead on it. What do you think needs to be done to discourage young people, and even the not so young, from participating in crimes like this?
Well, I used to believe in the saying that idle mind is a devil mind, but my devil workshop or whatever. But I don't think now, because even when you are well contented, your parents, they have given you everything that they can support you in your education, but these guys, they have another expression for this. I don't understand. But I agree with you in draws. I use that. I love that word you use. They have quite a number. No matter what we are doing, if you look at the statistics of EFCC, what they have done in terms of these Yahoo boys, almost on a daily basis, hundreds arrested, prosecuted, they still come back. So we have to go back to the drawing board. You know, the Interpol has the capabilities and the solutions to all these to assist law enforcement agencies. But there must be laws and there must be certain procedure from the institution or from a country to ensure that such things are being controlled at the grassroots, at the primary level, before it is transformed into a secondary level where we cannot or we find it difficult to deal with. And this is, it has to be from the government, institutions, you know, communities, societies, religious leaders, everyone must get involved in this. And that is the only way we can have peace in this country. But the issue of eradicating completely these guys is going to take a longer time, but we can minimize it by certain things that I've just mentioned if we follow the protocol of that.
You speak about the laws. Could you give us an idea? Because chances are that most times countries usually are grappling with adjusting to tackling some of these evolving cases. This gives you an opportunity, this meeting, to evaluate your chances, your strategies. Where can you say we are now in our quest to get ahead of some of these criminals? I know the NBA had a conference, no, not the NBA, the AGF organized something about judiciary, and you speak about the laws. What do we need to do? What gaps do we need to close to get ahead?
You see, if you look at the Criminal Justice Administration, it has provided for all this. But unfortunately, you know, things. I'm an international police officer. I try to restrict my views based on an international standard. You know, even though I'm by virtue of my position, I have every right to comment in my country, in Africa, in other parts of the world. But I think we need to strengthen our laws. We need to strengthen our laws, and those who are in charge of enforcement of such law should also be strict. And they're not only strict, they should be also truthful in the enforcement of such laws.
So are we making progress then? The kind of progress that you want to see, or we can do way better?
Well, we're moving, but the progress is also fine. But believe you me, we need to do more. And when we do more, everyone will say it clearly. Myself, Chamberlain, Makwe, everyone, they will all see it. But the worrisome is because why are you complaining? Why are you saying it, Mr. Chamberlain? Is because you have not seen concrete things on the ground, and that is the fact. When you see it, you will say, "Oh no, we're doing well." You can't pass. You don't give a pass mark on things that.
I know that the country, a lot of citizens keep on asking the question: why is it difficult for this country to nab some of these terrorist gangs, terrorist financiers? And I know that Interpol, some time ago, there were some gangs that they arrested involving some Nigerians, a certain group, and different terrorism financiers. So what has Interpol done to assist Nigeria in nabbing some of these terrorist financiers?
You must have heard that some last year or during the last administration, towards the tail end, certain individuals were arrested, gathered together, you know, who are believed to have financed terrorists. And terrorist financial entails not only the Interpol, it is the work of all law enforcement agencies, especially the National Financial Intelligence Unit that controls, you know, that have a link with our international organizations, such as organization that gives information about illicit funds that have been sent to terrorist organizations. And Interpol has database in which all law enforcement agencies, they have the ability to go in to acquire, to inquire about an individual or group of individuals that are believed to be terrorist financiers. You know, the fact we have, that is foreign active terrorist fighters, they are all across the globe because our borders are porous, you know, they have the means of movement of their money and so on. And we're doing everything on our part. Like we're extending the I-247 facility, which is the database, and we have the mine devices, that is the mobile mine devices that you can use to check active terrorist fighters. You remember what we did more, you know, we have large number of terrorists that were convicted and sent to prison in Kuje. When they escaped, before they escaped, we took it upon ourselves to go there to take the biometrics of all the inmates there, all except with the political inmates, the active terrorist fighters, all crimes. We captured them all and we uploaded into the global database of Interpol. And that was why when they escaped, we were able to issue blue notices in order to go after them and get them apprehended. So these are some of the things that we do to assist law enforcement agencies in making sure that nobody escapes. Even if you do escape, we look after you, and you hide, we smoke you out. And why do we say we smoke you out? Is every country is shared with their biometrics and the same. And these guys that are financing terrorists, we look at their money, we look at the inflow. Once we are informed this is it, we go after them. And for your information, millions of dollars were recovered by Interpol globally. And that is why we established also what we call IFCAC. IFCAC is another anti-corruption and financial body headed by a Nigerian. For the first time, is a director. We were able to send a director at the highest decision level making body of the Interpol. Through our network, we were able to establish that new outfit. And then we are now issuing what we call silver notice. Silver notices is the money that you have taken away or the money that you have used to finance terrorists. We go after you, we recover the money. And this is what we have been doing, and it's making a success. Chamberlain, we are doing a lot. It's just that, you know, Interpol is a global body. It doesn't talk, it doesn't say much, but our law enforcement agencies that are being that have benefited from the tools and services and the capabilities of Interpol, they know what we have been doing. And we are Nigeria is a typical example of the transformation in the fight against crime and criminality, especially transnational crime.
It is very comforting to hear you say that the people who, that you had taken all of the biometric fingerprints, et cetera, of the inmates in Kuje, you had taken it upon yourself before that particular escape happened, and so it would have been easy for you to be able to help smoke out those people. Is it only for Kuje that you took the biometric, or do you do that generally for other prisons as well?
No, we start, you know, Nigeria has never had this until when I came in, and I said we have to do it. You know, African continent deserve more. You know, we cannot be allowing other members country enjoying the way every Nigeria is a member is like any other country. So when I got involved in the executive committee, I fought for this country, I fought for Africa. I made sure that the benefits of what the capabilities, tools, and services of Interpol member countries benefited from the continent. And we have just started with Kuje. In fact, in my last meeting, day first today in Lyon, I mentioned it to the authority that there is need for us to capture all the other inmates in Nigeria so that we can have not only Nigerian, African countries, and we are doing that. It's gradually, but for the first time, this is an eye-opener for us, and we are doing that because we won't allow that kind of thing to happen in Nigeria. No, not ever anymore.
One of the things that usually gives people, you know, the source of concern oftentimes in many African countries, Nigeria inclusive, is the professionalism of police officers, of the police force in general. Oftentimes, you know, at the very top, you might get some semblance of professionalism, but when it comes down to the rank and file, you know, there's a lot left to be wanting. And I think at this point, I'm sure you're very aware of the conversations that are currently happening in Nigeria with regards to whether or not state police be introduced and et cetera, et cetera. All of it stemming from the dissatisfaction they're feeling with the arrangement, the security arrangements currently prevailing in the country. How is Interpol, will I say, isolated, or how is Interpol, cocooned from the external factors, or will I say the internal factors of whatever is happening within any police force, despite its membership of Interpol?
Interpol does not only rely or deal with the national police. We are all partners to law enforcement agencies in every member country. The only thing, the bridge, is the Nigerian police that houses the National Central Bureau. Let me give an example. Issue of state police, or there are some countries that operate on state police, local government police, university police, hospital police, media houses police. They are all called police. There are more than 240,000 different police forces in America. 240,000. From local police, hospital police, market police, they are all police. That is their system, and that is how they operate. But where a country operates the national police, we have other law enforcement agencies that we deal with also. The NFIU, we provide them with the database, this database I'm talking about. The immigration, we provided them, we extended them with the database, the same thing that the Nigerian police has. The NDLE, the same thing. The Navy, the same thing. NAPTIP, the same thing. And many other law enforcement agencies, we provide them with database. And this database houses 196 countries' data records, criminal data records. So it's enough for a country to leverage on this so that they can work in harmony, synergy. Because if there is no synergy from all law enforcement agencies in a country, you don't share intelligence, you don't share criminal records, you don't share information, then there is bound to be a massive deficit in the architecture of in the security architecture of your country. So, and this is we are trying to make sure that so all law enforcement agencies within the continent, within the countries, member countries, are fully, given capabilities to perform their job.
As we wind down, there was this story that made the rounds some time ago about the Binance executive, the fugitive, that he was captured, I think, somewhere in Kenya or thereabout. Was there any truth to that? Can you tell us?
I'm not aware, but all I know, and I can tell you, the last destination I know on my record of this guy when he fled was Kenya. That I can confirm to you.
So is it that when the process is over, or at what point, or is there any thinking, is he going to come to Nigeria where he fled to answer questions? How does that work with Interpol?
Yeah, see, Interpol, once a red notice is issued, we circulate to all member countries within the 196, including where the fugitive is suspected to be hiding. Now, it is not only moral right, but it is legally right for that country to get him apprehended, inform the requesting country that the fugitive you are looking for has been apprehended and is in our custody. Can you come and take him over? This is the process. He may be in Kenya, he may be hiding, he may have even left Kenya, but because of the notices that we have given, wherever he is, he will be smoked out. Until when you come out, if you had, even here in Nigeria, we may have some fugitive. Let me cite an example. Mr. Peter is an Austrian. He was in Nigeria for 26 years. He committed a crime and run to Nigeria, got married in Nigeria, had children, established business, doing well. But because of the red notice that is in, one day he committed an offense. And when we check our record, we discover him. He was repatriated and he's now in jail in Austria after spending 26 years in Nigeria. And there are some, they will just run. Let me give you an example, like the minor issue. He ran to Niger and we discover what it is. I flew down to Niger because there is red notice. We showed them and we said, you must arrest him. And they arrested him and handed him over to us. And I brought him back to Nigeria. These are the kind of things that we do, my brother. This is how it works in Interpol. Interpol assists us. And as soon as we brought him to Nigeria, we hand him over to the investigating authority, that is the EFCC. That is how we work. It's not that Interpol will keep him, will charge him. No. Interpol doesn't go to court. Interpol doesn't do the investigation. Law enforcement agencies in the country do the investigation. I request the assistance of Interpol to intervene in the arrest based on the article of memorandum understanding.
For instance, now, if the EFCC declares somebody wanted, does that automatically trigger a red notice, or it's up until the commission reaches out to the Interpol, then that happens?
Does not. No, it doesn't work that way. Even if they reach out to us, the first question we'll ask them, what is the offense? Where is the court order from High Court, Federal High Court? There must be a court order asking that person to be arrested. That is what we call international warrant of arrest. That court order alone is what we will use to issue international warrant of arrest. Without court order specifying the offense, the section of the law that he has committed, the offense that he has committed, the section of the law, and where the offense was committed, there will not be any red notice, and Interpol will not be involved.
All right, we'll have to thank you for talking to us. Garba Omar, AIG, Vice President, Interpol Africa Executive Committee. Thank you for talking to us, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Nice meeting you.
Okay, so there you go. It means that there's hope at the end of the day.
Always hope, Chamberlain.
So, yeah, it just goes to show. But sometimes I just wonder, some of these, I know the ICPC at the time complained about illicit financial flow. So we're hoping that they'll be able to work with the relevant authorities to ensure that the right things are done. Okay, so it's time for Business Morning on Sunrise City, and we're going to head to that, which comes up right now.
No matter where they are, if it concerns the people, we are there. From community game changers to homemade solution providers, where assurance and trust are built.
Policing should be people from the community who do the job. You don't bring an outsider.
We hear about Amotekun. We've not seen much of them around this area.
Documenting journeys of many starting big from a small place. Creating an intentional community where people go beyond living together to building strong and more friendly communities. Community Report, only on Channels Television.
And it's the last trading day of April. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you might be watching from. Hopefully, this April was good to your portfolio, but that depends on where you were invested in. Let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now, starting with the oil market. We see oil prices edged up marginally in early trade today after Israel-Hamas ceasefire talks in Cairo. That helped quell market. Brent crude futures dipped about 5 cents to 0.06% at $88.35 a barrel. But we'll see a marginal rise there to about $88.45 a barrel, up 0.06%. We see WTI crude as the U.S. grade, $82.73 a barrel, also up marginally this morning. So we're seeing low volatility right there in the oil market as usual. Let's get a check on the FX market now. We're seeing appreciation at the NAFEX window there, about 18.85 kobo to close yesterday at 1,342 naira to the dollar, starting the week strong. But we see NAFEM on the flip side, that's down about 5% at 1,419 naira to the dollar, losing 79 naira 88 kobo. So that's it for the FX market. Let's get some other top stories now. Latest report from the FMDQ exchange shows that the Debt Management Office sold a total of 2.67 trillion naira worth of treasury bills in the month of March. According to the FMDQ Markets monthly report, the figure represents a 3.07% increase from February's sales of about 2.59 trillion naira. In addition, FGN bonds worth 608.86 billion naira were sold in March, marking a 35.3% oversubscription, the offered amount, and reflects a 59.27% decrease from February's sales of about 1.49 trillion naira across 7-year and 10-year bond maturities. And as part of its strategy to expand its business operations, the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, that's the NGX Group, has announced plans to carry out a comprehensive digital transformation to further enhance its efficiency. The Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the NGX, Mr. Temi Popola, made this known at their 63rd Annual General Meeting, says the platform will provide a smarter and efficient way for issuers to raise capital and enhance the subscription process and operational workflow of POS in the capital market, including national initial public offerings, rights issues, and other public offers. Take a listen.
We're aware that every one of our subsidiaries, of our associate companies, needs to consume technology somehow. And there is no better entity to drive that than the holding company. So what do I mean? For example, we have a unique opportunity in front of us now with the capital exercises that are coming up, the capital raisings that the central bank has announced. Outside of the financial community as well, there have been many capital raises that have been publicly announced, rights issuances, public offers. We want to make sure that for the first time in the history of our market, every single one of those offerings will be digital. And how do we drive that? It means that the operating exchange can speak freely to another associate company, CSCS, for example. It means that those entities can speak to registrars through technology. So without going into too much detail, we will be launching very soon an application that would allow these public offers to be distributed to any Nigerian as long as you have a bank account.
And to our first conversation now, well, I hope you've been able to buy fuel. And if you've been able to buy fuel, I hope it was at a good price, because definitely we know the black marketers are out there making a buck or two. But let's get a sense of how the commodity market is faring now. Joining us is Mr. Bez Makurani, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So it seems we can't go a year without experiencing long queues for PMS and, black market sellers, making bank, at some point every year. I guess this is another one.
Yes. Let's call it seasonal inflation and congestion. But this is just a management issue, logistics management. And to a large extent, I don't know how much of this is accidental, and how much of it is coincidental, and how much of it could be considered as sabotage. But definitely, the inefficiency stinks to the high levels, and we need to get to that. What is more important is to note that the consequences of having petrol queues, the reduction in productivity, the impact on distorting prices, it is so debilitating to an economy that it shouldn't be tolerated. So it is an indictment on the Nigerian government, on the Nigerian NNPC, that at a time like this, we are still facing petrol queues after deregulation of the industry, after reduction in subsidy. So the Nigerians are paying a higher price and getting lower quantity. This is a no-no in economics.
So I guess at any price, even if it's 10,000 naira per liter, we'll still experience fuel queues at some point.
No, that shouldn't be. Normally, if the price is an equilibrium price, the supply should be all right, should be adequate, and the demand to actually clear, the market should clear. But what is happening here is that we have almost a sole monopoly of somebody importing PMS. The refineries are not functioning, and the ones that are functioning are producing other products. So it definitely there's a breakdown in the entire process. And the thing is that the logistics is now creating a problem. So you import it, it goes to Atlas Cove, it goes to tank farms. From tank farms to people, the price distortion is there. Is there subsidy? Yes, there is subsidy, but not as much as before. But today, we are buying petrol today at 1,500 naira in the market and across the nation. So it is an indictment on the system. It's an indictment on how we run things. So we have to do it better. We just have to do it better. There's no point. You can't sugarcoat this. We have to do it better.
Yes, and I'm sure we're already seeing that impact already with commodity prices. I'm also hearing there are signs of, cash scarcity also at this time. So it seems like the suffering of Nigerians is just being compounded daily at this point.
We call it hardship. Let's face it. Suffering that is consistent and over an extended period becomes hardship. Hardship leads to restiveness, and the consequences could be very devastating. So we pray, and in a short period, I think the NNPC or somebody has said that within 2 weeks we'll get back to normal. But the disruption that has caused and the effect on GDP, the effect on output, the effect on standard of living, look at the price of pepper has been up 17%, because those are perishables. Beans up 12.5%, and tomatoes are up. So the perishables, because those ones have to be transported, and because of these congestions across the country, those ones are stranded in the air, in the production belt. So for now, and that feeds into the food inflation number. But this is aberrational. But it's not just good, because this is avoidable. Let me put it as unavoidable. We are just shooting ourselves in the foot. Totally unnecessary. So what does it take? You program the shipments, you bring the quality of you assure yourself of the quality, and then you have it staggered over the period. We knew that there was Easter, there was Ramadan, there was this. So something is wrong. And between the pricing, the supply, the logistics, the ordering, and all of that, and all of this tied into the fact that the refineries are not functioning. At least now we know that diesel price is down, and we know that aviation fuel is down. So we need to ramp up and get the refineries, including the Dangote refinery, to start producing some of these products. And I think that solves the short term. But there are some structural issues around the exchange rate that we need to deal with. Because one thing is the price of crude. The other one is the exchange rate at which the crude is bought in, if it's being imported by independent marketers or independent merchants. So we need to look at all of this to ensure that if you are subsidizing at the exchange rate level, say so and come out clean for the people. But right now, it's not good, because May 1 is tomorrow, and it's Workers' Day, and the workers are all sweltering in front of gas stations, and the transporters, you can see the effect on domestic transport fares and intercity fares. It's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that tomorrow is actually Workers' Day, and I'm wondering if the workers have anything to smile about or celebrate tomorrow. But definitely we're hoping for some kind of announcement that would make the workers actually happy. But you did mention the FX market, and we're seeing some distortion there. We see the NAFEM window there closing in the red, down about 5%, 1,419 naira. So it seems we're seeing some kind of big demand for dollars.
Yes, the thing is that the demand is persistent and it's actually growing. This is summertime, and why? Graduation in the United States for Nigerians who have sent their kids to the United States is in May. The OTC conference is in May. The summer flights, people going for medical tourism and trader tourism, all buying dollars. So we can't run away from the fact that there is a shortage of dollars. The answer is to increase the supply. What has been done so far is sanitizing the market, but the question of supply of dollars has not been fully addressed. Do we expect it to actually appreciate so sharply? No, we can see that it's closing itself at about 1,350, 1,400. But the fear is that if people lose confidence in the naira as a store of value, then they begin to push it. So what is the central bank doing? The central bank is increasing supply, but the increase in supply is not enough to mop up, one, the actual demand, the speculative demand, and the demand fear. There's the fear anticipation that if I don't buy it now, then I will not get it when I want it. It takes time for a price to settle at equilibrium, and we call this the cobweb theory, where the prices overshoot themselves in the wrong direction and come back. And so that's what you're going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing the naira dancing around like a yo-yo in the next 3 to 4 weeks. In the month of May, we have an MPC meeting. We think that the central bank will be aggressively increasing the MPR again to mop up liquidity. And so as that happens, and there's an attempt to actually issue a bond issue by the Nigerian government. If that happens, and then we also reschedule some of our debt, we have the World Bank loan that is coming in. So all the things are pointing to the fact that in the medium term, the naira will settle. When in the short term, we are going to have shortages, just like you have in petrol, you have shortages in foreign exchange, you have shortages in some commodities. But these are just signs of the times. That's how I put it.
Right. Signs of the times, and definitely we'll see what other intervention we'll see from the CBN, maybe this week or next week. But last week we did see intervention there with sales.
Yeah, they increased the quantity they put in the market, and that helped to bring it down, but only just. Now we are back again. So it has to be consistent, and in the end, we think that there should be an auctioning system. Let's have an auction. Even if it's $50 million, let's have an auction. Let everybody bid. Let the bank bid. And then we begin to price discovery process becomes efficient. If that happens, no matter what the price is, we know that that's what the market is buying, and no preferential allotment. And then we go on and on until we find it. And if we think the rate is too high, we put more into the auction. And other people will now auction as well. You encourage all the oil companies and everything to auction. It becomes a very transparent and open process. And then we now monitor how the people that bought it, how they deploy it. I think I think the naira will settle.
Okay.
Settle very soon. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ronnie, we'll continue the conversation right after this short break. I still have with me Mr. Bismarck Ronnie. Do stay with us. We'll continue the conversation about the FX market. That's the moment. Do stay with us.
34 million hectares of arable land, over 200 million people, one nation. Home to Africa's fertilizer company. Dangote Fertilizer. Pure urea fertilizer. With one single-minded passion to feed Nigeria. Every bag is a potential, an aspiration to turn this green nation into the biggest food basket of Africa. Dangote Fertilizer.
Welcome back. Well, let's get back to the conversation. I still have with me Mr. Bismarck Rwani, CEO, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you for staying on, sir. So another headline we got yesterday, we see the federal government is planning a $10 billion diaspora fund, and that's supposed to help shore up the external reserves. Tell us what you think about this.
Yeah, it's a good move, but again, you see, the diaspora fund means that at what rate of interest are you going to, what kind of yield are you going to offer this? One, for return on investment. Two, for the safety. And three, do they believe that when come the maturity date, you'll be able to cough up the dollars to meet them? And this Nigerian diaspora money, they have what you call it, they have options. They have options to put their money in any other fund. So one, you have to be competitive on the pricing. Two, you have to appeal to the patriotism of Nigerians. People don't invest money based on patriotism. They invest money based on safety and the confidence they have in the system. So we need to build up credibility over time. But I think it's a great move. Like they said, the longest journey in the world starts with the first step. It's a great move. If you can mobilize 10, right, maybe slightly more, $10, $12 billion, it means that one, you can refinance a lot of the hot money that has come in. Two, you can refinance your maturing obligations. And three, it gives you enough money to actually invest in projects. But again, the whole idea of raising external reserves is not to defend currencies. It is to fund, to ensure that the currency is well backed and that people can now use the resources. And investors are sure that when they want their money out, they get it. And when they want the money in, they bring it in. Once that stability and confidence is established in the markets, you'll find that things begin to happen. And you don't look at it in isolation of the other fundamentals. For example, the price of cocoa has lost 15%. It was as high as $12,000. It's now down to $8,000. We knew that price was not sustainable. So we don't make decisions based on speculative pricing. The average price of cocoa at the end of the year probably be about $4,000, if not $3,000. But whatever you're getting now, you're making some gains. And now the price of LNG has increased and the price of oil is up there. Oil production has to increase. So when you put all of this together, the balance of trade begins to look better, but the payments and our obligations in terms of dividends, in terms of the things we have to pay out for invisibles, is also increasing. And don't forget one thing, that we already committed forward some of the oil production into all sorts of transactions, President Bank transactions. So the oil that has been committed is not available. We've already taken that money and spent it, right? So it means that our cash flow, our dollar cash flow, is impeded by the fact that monies that we've taken some money, spent it already on consumption, and then we need to raise more money. One, to cover the whole of what we've created, and two, to invest in productive activity to increase output and GDP growth.
All right, Mr. Rwani. Well, tomorrow we know it's Workers' Day, and definitely everyone is expecting some announcement about a new minimum wage. But we've heard from Labour that negotiations are not going too well, and we might not get that number tomorrow. But I want to know what you're expecting.
Let me say that I was the chairman of the minimum wage committee in 2019. Minimum wage is not something that is open to imagination. It is something that involves a lot of work, a lot of macroeconomic work and analysis. The impact of minimum wage on output, on employment, on welfare, on inflation, it is so profound. Therefore, I don't think we should be stampeded, Workers' Day or no Workers' Day, I don't think we should be stampeded into announcing the minimum wage, which is not affordable and which cannot be sustained. We heard a few states, I think Edo State and Lagos State have announced a minimum wage of 70,000. Is that a preemptive move? I'm not sure. But let me say, and put it on the table, that in 2019, 30,000 was the equivalent of $75. Today, $75 will give you about 90,000 naira. So even to bring people back to where they were in 2019, you've got to be paying them 90,000 naira. But can the private sector and the public sector afford 90,000 naira a month for an unproductive workforce? That's the big question we have to ask. And if you increase it, how are you going to fund it? In 2019, we increased the VAT from 5 to 7.5%, and that helped to actually moderate the inflationary impact of this. Can you, at this point in time, begin to increase taxes on the people? Because subsidy reduction is an increase in tax indirectly. So there are many variables that have to be taken into consideration. So I don't think it's something that we should stampede into forcing or getting leaders to go and make announcements, precipitous announcements on May 1. May 1 is just a day that will come and go. The most important things, we must make decisions that are based on strong economic fundamentals, based on what we can afford, and make sure that there's no increase in unemployment and the suffering of the people. I think that is the question that we have to ask.
And definitely, we're all still trying to deal with inflation at this time. Thank you so much. It was great having your perspective, Mr. Bismarck Ruane, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ladi, for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, head straight to the markets. Just stay with us.
The Dangote Petroleum Refinery is going to be the largest single-train petroleum refinery in the world. Dangote Industries have enormous confidence in the potential of Nigeria. Africa is like an unexplored gold mine. We know there is huge opportunities here.
What makes this project different than others is for sure the size. This project is transformation for the country and for the continent, I would say.
The Dangote fertilizer plant will transform the agricultural sector. We go for the state-of-the-art technology. It will help to create employment and to reduce the massive demand on foreign imports.
It's going to have a major impact on the lives of the Africans. It's a moment of great pride.
All right, let's head straight to the markets now. We've heard announcements by major Nigerian banks. They're set to pay out a combined 379 billion naira. That's in dividends to investors. We see Axis Banks looking at 63 billion. We see Fidelity, 19 billion. GTCO looking at 79 billion. Stanbic, 28 billion. And all of that coming up to 379 billion. That's what the shareholders are going to get right there. And this is coming at a time where we're seeing a recapitalization exercise. Well, joining us now is Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO Finance with Mukhtar, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you always, Ladi.
Fantastic. So we're seeing the banks, huge payouts there. And this is a time where they need fresh cash, you know, to raise money for that recap process. Why do you think the banks are paying big dividends regardless?
Well, you know, the banks have did good profits over the year. They are not really, those dividend payouts will not affect their recapitalization, not to forget that the retail earnings of the bank, which is the earning per share that some of these dividends are paid from, are not part of the recapitalization process. So those earnings are still there. And so what will happen is that a lot of these banks going forward will still be able to pay, because you're looking at some banks with an earning per share of about 17 naira, some with 22 naira. And so they're just paying a fraction. It's really a fraction. Some are paying less than less percentage of the fraction of their retail earnings. And when you look at those things, sometimes you just begin to wonder that at a point, the capital base of the bank was 25 billion. And today we have a company like Zenith Bank paying 109 billion in terms of dividend payout, and 78, 29, 63 billion from assets. So it tells you how far the Nigerian banks have gone thus far. So for me, I'm excited about it, and it's an opportunity for other investors to begin to look at how to begin to get cash. Because in an economy like this, when your economy is going through a lot of microeconomic headwinds, cash become kings.
Yeah, cash is king, definitely. But, you know, talking about that banking counter this time, we're seeing the banking index is down a lot in 2024. It used to be about over 1,000 index points. We're now seeing about 700 index points. Talk to me about where you see the bottom for that banking counter, and where you see buying opportunity?
I think there's a lot of buying opportunity, Laddie, now. Bottom, you won't know until at the end of today. We'll know whether the CBN is going to extend that procedure for them to submit their recapitalization plan. That has been what have affected the bank thus far, because a lot of these banks are coming to the market. Most investors don't know how much they are coming to the market. Are they at the premium at the moment, or is it on high? Will it still go low? I think those are the challenges. That's why you saw those numbers come down. But when you look at results that have come out from one of the banks, IBTC, Stanbic IBTC holding, then you also still a little bit optimistic that when those numbers begin to roll out, the banks will begin, they will see the upside. So I think buying opportunities are still there, especially for a stock like UBA. Dividend payout still holding, not yet paid. Registrar, the register is not yet closed. So a lot of investors are reinvesting most of their dividend from assets, from assets especially, into UB and others. So definitely there's still a lot of opportunity in the banking sector. And like I said again, Fidelity is also there. So good numbers, one bank to watch out for going forward in the near future. And you mustn't forget the tier one banks, always up there in terms of dividend payout, capital appreciations. Like I always say, if not because the CBN is saying they shouldn't use their retained earning, almost 90% of the bank would have will stay through the recapitalization. So this recapitalization is injection of new funds so that they will do a high ticketing deal, especially when we are going to an economy that want to be a $1 trillion economy. So it's good for the banks. And again, I keep saying that this recapitalization is towards bringing in investors, especially international investors, with their FX into the market, so that also will contribute in the stabilization of the market, of the FX market. But again, like I said, it's still a long way to go, 2 years from now. But I don't think most banks will want to wait till 2 years before they recapitalize. Hopefully, I see some of these banks doing it before the end of their next financial year. Right. We might also see those numbers coming in. So still a lot of opportunity for investors. The fear from most investors is the dilution of their shares when these other initial public offer or right issues are injected back into the share capital. But I don't think it's any cause to worry, because Nigerian banks are always genius and they are still very profitable. So going forward, it's still exciting time for the banking sector.
Yeah, I know for some markets that are on a downtrend, it's definitely hard to find that bottom, definitely, because at the same time you're afraid of catching a falling knife. But let's talk about another issue quickly. Now we see about 15 firms have delisted from the NGX between 2021 and 2023. What do you make of these delistings?
Well, delisting, sometimes some of them delist and then go to the other side of the NGS. And like Mobi did that, and others. But again, it's not good for the market, especially when you look at some of these companies that are delisted. Sometimes they delist when it seems that everything is going to go better for them going forward, and they just begin to delist. One of those names I'm hearing now that is saying, we will soon be delisting is MRS. And I remember MRS just signed a contract with Dangote to be one of the sole lifter marketing arm of Dangote refinery in terms of a sale of diesel. So this is supposed to excite investors and see this stock appreciate, and investors begin to earn a lot of dividends from that. But I think the NGS need to do a lot. The Security and Exchange Commission really need to do a lot, so that investors are not always subcharged when it comes. And I like what they did in one of the delisting company, where they said no, what they are paying investors is not commensurate to what investors have been doing thus far. So I'm excited about it. Right. If the delistment, I'm not excited about the delistment. It's not good for us, especially when a sector like the petroleum sector, which we've been craving to be part of the capital market, and one of the players delisting, is not good for us at all.
Right. Well, we'll keep tracking that. Thank you so much. Always great to have your perspective, Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO, Finance with Mukhtar. Thank you.
Thank you, Laddie, for having me.
All right, that's it from me on Business Morning. We'll track more market reactions later on Business Incorporated. That's by 1 p.m. I'm Laddie Williams. I hand things over now to the Sunrise Daily team.
All right, welcome back. Yes, indeed, we're turning our attention to health-related matters, and as you've seen there, we've got Idarabo Ekanam joining us here this morning. She's a health officer for International Federation for Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Okay, so talking about this Lassa fever, ordinarily many might gloss over this, but we understand that there's over 5,000 cases reported this year in Nigeria, about 27 states thereabout affected. What's going on?
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, it's true that we have over 27 states out of 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory reporting Lassa fever in from January 2024 till date. And like you know, or may be aware, Lassa fever is endemic in the country, meaning it occurs every year since 1969, when it was first discovered in the community of Lassa in Borno State. So it is actually a viral hemorrhagic fever that is caused by multimammate rats, rodents. You know, humans can get infected when they have access to, or when they come in contact with the feces, urine, or body fluids or blood of the rat. And also, there is also a possibility of human-to-human transmission when they come in contact with body fluids of infected persons, like sputum, blood, seminal fluid, and other mucous fluid. Yeah.
But this amount of cases that we're reporting in this country this year leaves one to wonder, are we making any progress whatsoever ever since your attempts to ensure that this is reduced, if not eradicated?
Yes, I think we are making progress, although there is still a lot more to be done, because every outbreak starts and ends in the community. So we need to have more community awareness, community engagement. For this particular outbreak this year, we have seen cases that are coming up from states that were not typically reporting Lassa in the past, and that has caused some concerns. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control, which is the coordinating agency for the Lassa outbreak, is doing a lot and coordinating with other partners, which the Nigerian Red Cross is also among the partners responding to the outbreak. So yes, the government, the Ministry of Health and the NCDC is doing a lot with the partners, but there is still more to be done in several communities, especially at community level.
Which of these states are these?
Where we are working?
These new states that were not reporting the...
Yeah, like Rivers State is reporting this year, Kaduna is reporting, Cross River is reporting, Plateau is reporting, apart from the hotspot states, which are Ondo, Edo, Taraba, Benue, Ebonyi. These are states that are endemic to Lassa. But even in the states that are endemic, we also have LGAs now that were not really affected in the past that have started reporting. And that is the focus of the Nigerian Red Cross this year, because there we believe that there is low awareness, there is late presentation of cases, which is leading to high fatality, high number of deaths. So the Red Cross is leveraging on their presence in the 37 states to conduct that community engagement and awareness, to let people know about the signs, the symptoms, and also promote early presentation at the health facilities for treatment.
It is really sad that every year we have to deal with this Lassa fever. We know that usually this happens mostly during the dry season.
Yes.
We've been told that as a result of practices, you know, people spreading food, this culture of still spreading food on the main road, where, you know, produce is spread out to dry, and, you know, as a result, coming in contact with these rats.
Yeah.
And I think also a very huge concern is the fact that we're also losing health workers.
Yes.
So far, we understand about 32 of them have now died, which is really very, you know, upsetting, so to speak. But I'm wondering, is it that there is no awareness? Because, I mean, you would think that as a result of this happening on a yearly basis, that by now people should know that these practices much as it might seem convenient and people want to make use of the sun, it is not very wise, or neither is it healthy for people to continue to spread food on the road. Why do you think these practices are refusing to die out?
Okay, so apart from people spreading food on the roads, people also use rodents as source of food. So this has also, caused,
like,
yeah, like
eat rats.
Yes.
Oh,
and
Is that the same thing as the bush rat?
Yes. So we don't really differentiate, though it is caused by multi-mammate rats. But when we are creating awareness, we ask people not to even eat rats. So apart from spreading food, and also the rats that infest into the homes and also have access to people's food due to poor sanitation, or they don't put their food in rodent-proof containers and all that. Another outstanding risk factor is the conception, the misconception people have, the belief that people have. Some people feel that Lassa fever is a punishment from the gods. So with our community-based presence, our community...
In this day and age, in Nigeria?
Yes, yes, of course. So they feel that people that fall sick because of the bleeding that happens towards the end of the peak of the disease, which also leads to death. So people feel it's a punishment from the gods or something. So we try as much as possible to continuously engage them and sensitize them to stop eating rats, to stop spreading food on the roadsides, to maintain personal hygiene. Yeah. And
how high a priority would you say this has been for the governments in the state where have been perennially affected? Yes, you have mentioned that a few states have just recently joined the list that we did not used to see before now. But for the states that this is a problem for them, year in, year out, they're always reporting these cases. Would you say that we've seen an increase in their own attempts at creating awareness, level of awareness amongst their own populace, especially when the dry season is approaching?
Yes, I would say that if you look at the statistics for this year, the states that are constantly reporting that are endemic to Lassa fever have actually reported low number of deaths. So it means that the government and the partners are doing a lot to let them know about the disease and also to promote early diagnosis and referral because it is treatable. So what leads to the high number of deaths is when people don't access healthcare on time. So yes, a lot is being done, but we still need to do more because behavioral change takes time. So we need to continually sensitize the communities using multiple channels to communicate, engaging key influencers, and that is what the Red Cross is doing currently. Risk communication, targeting opinion leaders, community leaders. We not just to, for instance, now, the NCDC has set up the Emergency Operations Center in the country and also cascaded it to the state level. But we need to also do same at community level, at local government level, where these cases are coming from.
And what has the response been like with the local government officials? And we know how things can be at the local governments, but are there local governments that you have worked with that you would say, oh, these local governments are worthy of emulation? You wish that other local governments were like this?
Yes, there are local governments that, of course, it's a public health issue. So all hands are on deck to ensure that we contain the outbreak. So the local government officials, the state epidemiologists, the disease surveillance officers are very cooperative in investigating, although there have been panic based on the number of health workers that have been affected. So it has led to refusal or rejection of cases. But the government at all levels are also working to provide psychosocial support in collaboration with the Red Cross to the health officers and also provide personal protective equipment, to them to mitigate the risk. So there is a big, there is a strong political will from the local government,
So when you say bush rat? Is that another name for bushmeat? Is it the same thing?
The different types of bushmeat, Chamberlain.
Okay, because people need to know what's really going on here so that they get it right. But I also see in some of the narrative that you talk about, some of the literature say health workers are rejecting symptoms, and so that is why it's important to talk about it. Can you shed some light on that? Is that actually happening, where they deny the symptoms? Or what is that story about?
Okay, so we call it health worker apprehension, based on the number of health workers that have been infected, about 32 so far. So some health workers, when they see cases that present the community definition of Lassa, symptoms of Lassa, they tend to, because of that fear. So what we are doing is to encourage them, to sensitize them, to also create an enabling environment for them to be able to function with minimal risk. And this includes providing them with the basic protective equipment that they require.
So in terms of what needs to be done on the part of the individual, do you think that at least, other than government putting out these messages, are people getting the message such that you see, are they taking the right measures to ensure this doesn't spread any further?
Yes, at community level, yes, because this is an individual thing. It's an individual infection. So people are taking up, people that have been sensitized, that are aware, though the challenge we have is the low awareness, especially in areas that the disease is new to them. But people are beginning to take, we have seen people demonstrate good hygiene practices, people packing their foods properly. In markets, we have sensitized women and men to stop spreading food. So in areas that they are affected and we are present, and of course other partners, yes, we are seeing behavioral change.
What alternatives are they using in these instances? Because what they're trying to make use of is the sun. It's not like as if they, really want to spread the food on the road. You just want to be able to make use of nature's gifts. So what alternatives did you have to provide alternatives to them, or you just had to say, no, this has to stop, and then they found the alternatives themselves?
So one of the alternatives we have, one of the measures we have put in place is to distribute rat traps for them to be able to, place in their homes, and also sensitize them on guiding when they are spraying. Most times the practice is to spray on the road and just leave it. So they stay and guide their food items, because really you can't really stop them from making use of the sun, which is like the cost-effective means of, drying their grains. So we ask them to have those protective, and then don't dry it on the sand also. So they lay on material, a clean material. And that's part of the hygiene promotion activities we are doing in the States.
All right, just give us a moment. We need to cross over to our correspondent, Terry Kumi. The National Assembly are resuming today. So quite some activities will be going on. It's been a while they used that premises. So morning, Terry. So could you tell us what is going on at the moment in National Assembly?
Hi, Chamberlain. Good morning, Mark Baird. Good morning, Ayo. So yes, we're live at the National Assembly, the lobby of the National Assembly to be precise. It's been a while I found myself here. That's because for the past 2 years, the National Assembly has been using a makeshift chamber while renovating both chambers of the National Assembly. And on 2 occasions this year, plenary had to be shifted just so they would be able to resume in their newly renovated chambers. Not sure what's happening in the Senate, because they initially had concerns about the shade of red that was used in the Senate. It was close to pink. I mean, concerns about that, including the House of Representatives as well. Well, plenary is on the way in the House of Representatives as we speak right now. Remember that just about half or more than the number of lawmakers right now are utilizing this chamber for the very first time, because it's been 2 whole years since this chamber has been under renovation.
Well, let's see if we can look at some of those places in the chamber. I know that before that time, people who were watching the proceedings from home usually ask the question. So are they now, do you have any preliminary knowledge or word or information as to the voting system? Is that going to be a permanent feature now moving forward?
Well, I think that's been in place for a while now. I recall that the last assembly on that, Bajabiamila insisted on putting that in place. It wasn't utilized, to the best of my knowledge. There's no telling if that is in place now. We would know because the constitutional amendment process is on the way in National Assembly. So let's see how that goes. And just to let you know that that's going to be a prime concern for Parliament this time around, especially considering that they've held summit on state police, which is a very key bill that's to be considered in the constitutional amendment process. Remember last assembly that the State House of Assembly insisted that National Assembly must include state police. At the time, there were diverse opinions on it, and so federal lawmakers did not put that. Of course, the president wasn't going to sign it at the time. He was clearly against it. But that's one of the key considerations in the Assembly as they resume. Plenary today will be very brief because the National Assembly, the House of Representatives specifically, is holding a summit on transformation and development of the country. And so that the other paper is quite light. A number of bills are up for first reading, one of which is an electoral act amendment bill. You know how important that is, Chamberlain.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because just yesterday, Yaga Africa held that roundtable conference where they were saying that they're yet to see what the president's stance is on electoral reforms. And, you know, maybe the National Assembly is just doing this on their own initiative. But it'll be good to see, you know, the members back in their chambers. I think for the 10th Assembly members, you know, for a number of them who are first-timers, have you been able to speak with any of them to find out if they're excited about being back in the usual chambers? Do they feel like they're, you know, going to miss out on something if that chamber was not going to be ready till the end of their tenure?
Oh, absolutely. I spoke with a number of them who were really excited. And the reason is, remember that the makeshift chamber they had been using could not accommodate all of them in one room. So they had about 2 of those committee rooms that they were utilizing. And for that reason, those who could not make it into the main chamber almost would stay away from plenary, because up there were communication challenges and they felt like they were not part of plenary. So yes, a lot of them are excited to be part of this new, to have plenary in this new chamber for the first time in almost a year. I mean,
it looks different though.
They've always seen this on TV and they've always wanted to be there.
Yes, indeed.
Of course it looks different. It looks different. You would know because you know what the former one looked like.
Yes, and as someone who's covered the National Assembly, do you prefer the new look or the old look? I thought it was just the dome they were renovating.
I think I like this one.
Well,
I like this one, and the air conditioning is working as well.
Oh, very important, especially in this weather. Very important. So, well, yeah. Terry, we'll count on you to bring us up to speed with what is happening in the National Assembly today. We understand today is also the deadline for the presentation of bills for the amendment process. You spoke about state policing, but is there any other thing that is interesting in the amendment process which we should be expecting as well?
Well, for today, there's nothing specific. I simply pointed out the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which is up for first reading. And the National Assembly won't do much. The Speaker is doing his, is having his welcome speech. After that, I think they will adjourn just after taking those bills for first reading. So for today, it's going to be light because they have to be at another event organized by the House on transformation and development.
Okay, so I guess we'll wait and see how the National Assembly conduct themselves, what they do from there moving forward. Meaningful bills, especially now that the electricity tariff hike is going on, that some sort of, you know, committee hearing with the Senate. So we'll see what the House of Reps, their counterpart, do moving forward. So Terry, thank you very much indeed for your reporting today. All right, so we'll keep tabs on that one. So let's get back to this as we wind down on this.
Really try to get used to that new look, though. Try to get used to the new look. I mean, there is a lot of wood in the middle somewhere.
Well, I think they have no choice. Those who will be looking forward to it will definitely want to be part of that and see what happens. But whether or not they come up with meaningful bills, what affects Nigerians positively will be really, really key. And then I think above all else too, or equally important, is when they get in there and they're voting about motions or bills, and they need to let people see how they vote.
Yes.
That's a basic,
the
at least that people,
that
should be, I think it should be taken for granted. It should be an everyday thing, really. So gone should be the days where you vote under the table and hide your views or your perspective. Let everybody see what you're doing.
What you stand for.
That's the way it should be. That's what they elected in there.
When they stand for health, you know, what they intend to do. But if, you know, you could get through to, you've already said that NCDC is doing quite a bit on that front. But what more support would you think that, you know, actors at the federal level should, you know, be making, especially in the area of health with regards to diseases that are generally endemic, not just Lassa fever? Well, maybe you could start with the example of Lassa fever.
Yeah, I think that we need more actors. We need more partners to bring in resources and targeting communities. You know,
are you talking about donors?
More present, yeah, partners, donors, and even the government also to support the government to target the communities, to have more grassroots interventions, because these issues are happening at the grassroots. And also to pay attention in terms of early warning signs. We already have the seasonal calendars that we know that in dry seasons, we have the Lassa fever. The rains have started, so we are expecting cholera. So we need that strong early warning system in place to prep the community, to prepare them for response. And this can only happen when the community is involved in the plan, they participate in the approach for the early warning.
Could you go over those early warning signs again, those symptoms, so people can look out for them when they see them?
Okay, in respect to Lassa fever, so it starts between, symptoms start showing between 3 to 21 days of infection, and symptoms include fever, body pains, vomiting, diarrhea, general muscle pains, and bleeding in natural openings of the body from the eyes.
Is that for the first 21 days?
Yes.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's an acute infection. So between 3 to 21 days, one starts showing the symptoms. Then when it picks up, it's when the people start bleeding. And that's when it becomes very serious and leads to death.
But do you get, I imagine that there'll be cases wherein if it's fever, they say, no, don't worry, they'll treat themselves at home. And then before you know what's happening, it snowballs into that. Or are there cases where the first 21 days, you don't see any bleeding until much later?
Yes, there are lots of cases like that. In fact, the reason we are having high number of deaths is because when it starts like fever, like I mentioned earlier, we have the late presentation of cases. So people start self-medication, and then present themselves to the health facility when it's late. So we always encourage, and we are still encouraging Nigerians living in endemic areas and people that have had contacts with infected persons to report to the hospital, to the nearest health facilities for diagnosis, for assessment. Yeah.
All right, we have to thank you for coming on. Idarabo Akanam, Health Officer, International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent, trying to address this prevalence of Lassa fever. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so there you go. That wraps it up today on Sunrise Daily. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you again. But we just want to let you, just wish you happy Workers' Day ahead of time. Couldn't do that a little early. So I know Edo State workers maybe a little happy. They've got, what, 70,000 naira announced minimum wage. Who knows what else when the president does that announcement. So maybe preventing him a little bit might not be out of place.
Look, the announcement that Nigerians want is let there be petrol and let there be light. That's what Nigerians, maybe I'm preempting them.
No, who doesn't want public power supply and then ensure that
I don't know, because at the end of the day, if you are earning 70,000 naira, you have to buy from the black market and you have to queue hours to be able to get something that you should narrowly take for granted.
Enough is enough.
What difference does it really make, you know? The big question. But hey, don't let it spoil your Workers' Day celebration. At least you get to stay home. At least you get a breather. Only for those
who do.
For those who do. Thank you so much for watching today's How Tuesday Has Gone Down. Thank you so much for your mails as well. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
I'm Chamberlain Yusuf. Goodbye.